The Donner Party, America's most terrifying survival story. Imagine getting trapped in the mountains, with no food, no rescue, and winter closing in. In the spring of 1846, a group of 87 pioneers, known as the Donner Party, left Missouri with one dream: to reach California and start a better life. At first, everything seemed normal. But then, they made one decision that changed everything. Instead of taking the well-known Oregon Trail, they followed a new shortcut that promised to save time. It was a deadly mistake. The shortcut led them through brutal deserts where their oxen collapsed from exhaustion. Wagons broke apart. Food supplies disappeared. Weeks turned into months. By the time they reached the Sierra Nevada mountains, winter had arrived much earlier than anyone expected. Then disaster struck. A massive snowstorm buried the mountain passes under nearly 20 feet of snow. The pioneers were trapped. There was no way forward. There was no way back. Inside their makeshift cabins, the temperature dropped below freezing. Day after day, children cried from hunger. Parents watched helplessly as their food ran out. First they ate their cattle. Then their horses. Then the family dogs. Finally, there was nothing left. People began dying from starvation. Those who survived faced an impossible choice. One by one, they made the horrifying decision to eat the bodies of those who had already died. Not out of cruelty, but to stay alive. Meanwhile, a small rescue group known as the Forlorn Hope attempted to cross the frozen mountains on foot to find help. Many never made it. Some collapsed in the snow and never woke up again. Others survived only because they made the same terrible choice. Months later, rescue teams finally reached the stranded camp. What they found shocked the entire nation. Skeletons lay scattered around abandoned cabins. Frozen belongings remained exactly where families had left them. Only 48 of the original 87 pioneers survived. The tragedy became one of the darkest chapters in American history. Even today, visitors to the Sierra Nevada mountains claim the area feels strangely silent. Some hikers report hearing distant voices in the wind. Others say they have seen shadowy figures walking through the snow before disappearing into the trees. Whether those stories are true or simply legends born from unimaginable suffering, no one can deny the terrifying reality. Because sometimes, the scariest horror story isn't fiction. It's history. The Dyatlov Pass of America. The chilling mystery of the Roanoke colony. In 1587, more than 100 English settlers arrived on a small island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They came with hope, dreaming of building the first permanent English colony in America. But within just 3 years, every single one of them vanished. No bodies. No signs of a battle. No graves. Not even a single letter explaining what happened. The colony was led by John White, who sailed back to England to gather supplies. But because England was at war with Spain, his return was delayed for nearly 3 years. When he finally returned in 1590, he expected to reunite with his family. Instead, The entire settlement was completely abandoned. Houses had been carefully dismantled, not destroyed. There were no signs of panic, no blood, no weapons left behind. Only one clue remained. Carved into a wooden post was a single mysterious word. Croton. That was the name of a nearby island and the Native American tribe living there. Did the settlers peacefully join the tribe? Were they attacked by another group? Did disease, famine, or a devastating storm force them to leave? Or did something even stranger happen? One heartbreaking detail makes the mystery even more emotional. Among the missing was Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. She was just an infant when her grandfather, John White, sailed away. He never saw her again. For more than 430 years, historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have searched for answers. They've uncovered artifacts and theories, but no one has ever solved the mystery completely. The lost colony of Roanoke remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. And perhaps the most haunting question of all is this: how can an entire community simply disappear, without leaving a trace? The Great Molasses Flood, the sweet disaster that shocked America. On a cold winter afternoon in January 1919, the busy streets of Boston were filled with workers, families, and children heading home. It seemed like an ordinary day, until a sound like thunder echoed through the city. Without warning, a massive steel tank holding over 2.3 million gallons of molasses suddenly exploded. Within seconds, a towering wave of thick, sticky molasses, reportedly reaching speeds of over 30 miles per hour, rushed through the streets. Buildings were ripped from their foundations. Horse-drawn wagons were flipped over. People were knocked off their feet and trapped in the syrup-like flood. Imagine trying to escape, but every step pulled you deeper into a river of glue. Rescue workers struggled for hours because the molasses clung to everything: people, vehicles, tools, and even rescue equipment. As the temperature dropped, the molasses became even thicker, making survival even more difficult. By the time the disaster was over, 21 people had lost their lives, and around 150 others were injured. Entire neighborhoods were left covered in sticky brown syrup. But the real mystery began afterward. Why did the tank explode? The company claimed it was an unpredictable accident. However, investigators later discovered that the tank had been poorly designed, rushed into service, and never properly tested. Some witnesses even said it had leaked molasses for months before the disaster, and children often collected the leaking syrup in small containers. The victims' families refused to stay silent. What followed became one of the longest and most important legal battles in American history. After years in court, the company was found responsible and forced to pay compensation, a landmark victory that helped strengthen engineering standards and corporate accountability across the United States. Even today, more than a century later, some longtime Boston residents jokingly say that on hot summer days, they can still smell molasses near the site of the disaster. Whether that's true or simply part of local folklore, one thing is certain. The Great Molasses Flood remains one of the strangest, and most unforgettable, disasters in American history. Because sometimes, history's most unbelievable stories are completely true.